Hey, what's up, people? Back at you again with another Moralities Moment. My next to the last vid in my series entitled Great Vision. This morning's note is entitled Our Vision Requires Answers to Urgent Questions. The note says this morning, Our vision requires answers to urgent questions. Where in the world should we turn to live and why? How does one prepare? How long will it take? How to live? What kind of economy? What kind of social system? Whose culture to replicate or reproduce? What type of government? What type of educational system? What kind of moral system? How to forge leaders? What must be done? How to begin? Where to focus? Who to work with? Why? Who to live with and who not to live with? We therefore forge guiding principles out of the best practices in our civilization. I conclude that we must first stand up for ourselves in every area of our existence, be always on equal footing, always independent, never passive victims, never accepting unequal relationships, only reciprocity. Again, this is another one of the videos I feel is pointed and something that should to stir up something on the inside of us, to think that our vision requires answers to urgent questions. More so than ever, with all of the things that's going on in our black community, people want answers. People want actions. People don't want to keep marching. And one of the words I want to look at that's more pointed in this morning's note is the word forge, which means copy fraudulently, fake, beat into shape. And then the note says, we forge guiding principles out of the best practices in our society. A lot of the reason, if not all of the reason, that most of the things that go on in our community is because we forge guiding principles from the best practices. So in turn, knowing what the word forge means, that it's fake, it's copy, it's fraudulent, because that's not who we really are. And a lot of times we are who we are because we're beat into shape, as black people, and I'm talking to my people this morning, for the most part, our communities and all of that stuff is because we've been beat into shape by a system, a system that whether we realize it or not, it was formed to make, especially by concentrated effort. Whether we realize it or not, it's been a concentrated effort for a long time for people of color to be where we are today. And the sad part about it is we're too much in a deep sleep or sleepwalking to realize that concentrated effort. And it goes back to, when Stacey Dash made a statement about Black History Month, doing away with stations like BET. She's a Fox commentator, an analyst on, to me, one of the most racist channels or stations on the air. But again, she's beat into shape. We go along to get along. A lot of times we get in situations and circumstances because of dependency. And again, one of my vids was our vision is independence. Where do we live? We should be able to live amongst each other and get along with each other and be able to forge our own identity, and that identity not be based on something somebody told us or someone would imply to us through media, social media, the educational systems, the economic systems, and all of that. We need to stop settling. In this note I said, be always on equal footing. When you find yourself on unequal footing, guess what? You put yourself at a disadvantage because somebody's going to always have the upper hand on you. We want to be able to stand toe-to-toe, eye-to-eye with our adversary and be like, look, you're going to recognize who I am and what I stand for. Again, we need to stand up for ourselves. Stop depending on the abuser to give us answers to the abuse. We need to come together and understand that we require answers to urgent questions. We have to stop settling for what they give us. And forging leaders, we need to make leaders. We need leaders that's willing to stand on the forefront, not when it's just a TV opportunity, but you in the trenches day to day, week to week, month to month, year to year, for however long it takes for change to take place. But again, we have to do that amongst ourselves. We have to come up with our own plan, our own strategy on where we're going to live, how we're going to live, who we're going to work with, how we're going to work with, what type of educational systems we're going to educate our kids with, what type of governing principles do we want to put in for our own. Because I think about and I read and study a lot about ancient civilizations, ancient people of color. Our people had principled systems that allowed their civilization, the culture, to thrive. And because of the moral decay and what we call America, we just settle for the status quo. It's time for us to wake up and stop settling. We demand, or you should demand, answers to the urgent questions that you have in life. And not only for you independently, but for us collectively as a whole. We require answers to urgent questions. And the only way we're going to get the answers to those urgent questions is we come together with self, with our own, and put these questions on the table and see how we're going to govern ourselves and move forward to make a better situation, not only for myself or my kids, but for you and your kids, and the kids and generations to come. The Bible tells us that a righteous man leaves an inheritance for generations, and inheritance doesn't necessarily have to be money, although money doesn't hurt. But what I believe we need to start doing and start practicing is putting in a moral system for our children to govern themselves by, so they can pass that down for generations to generations. Learn to do for self, learn to uplift self, and then come together collectively with your gifts and your talents and put them together with somebody else's gifts and talents of your same ethnicity to be those pillars in a community that builds a solid foundation for all to thrive and not just a few. So again, just remember, our vision requires answers to urgent questions, or it should require answers to urgent questions. So take some time to think about, what urgent questions do your vision demand answers to? With that being said, remember, our vision, or your vision, is your destiny. Hope you enjoyed this morning's morality moment. Peace, and I'm out.